Hello Year 9. Today's lesson is called the Holocaust. What was the final solution? In today's lesson we're going to try to know and understand aspects of the final solution, the plan that the German Nazi government had to complete their mass murder and genocide of the Jewish people of Europe. This is a particularly difficult subject to consider. In addition, some of the images you may see here you may find distressing. So do take your time. If you find that the images you see are too difficult to view, pause, go back and consider whether to carry on with the lesson. So the final solution. What was the final solution? On the 3rd of July 1941, Hermann Goering, who was Hitler's close advisor, gave a written order for the Nazis to develop the final solution to what he called the Jewish problem, which tells you a lot about how the Nazi government viewed Jewish people as a problem to be dealt with. The plan was made at the Wannsee Conference in January 1942 in Berlin. The final solution was the systematic murder of Jewish people in specialized death camps in modern-day Poland. The plan was to use gas chambers which could hold up to 2,000 people at once. Jews from all over Europe were transported to these camps by rail in an organized and systematic way. The result was the organized murder of 6 million people. So you can see on this map the logistics of the final solution, the transportation routes for Jewish people from all over occupied Europe into Poland with the aim of mass murder. Consider what I've just talked about there and consider the map. I'd like you to pause the video here and to write down 2 key facts and 2 key dates about the final solution. Okay, so moving on. As the war went on, Hitler took over more of Europe and the Nazi leaders came up with this final solution. This image here shows you an image of the front of Auschwitz death camp or concentration camp. These camps were specifically designed to murder the prisoners. Some of them were labour camps, so some of them were places where people were forced to work, but they would be worked to death. The Nazis viewed a range of different people as undesirable, and these undesirable will be loaded onto trains and transported to camps such as this one. Undesirables were people the Nazis wanted to get rid of, including Jews, gypsies and homosexuals. Jews were gathered, forced onto trains, normally used for transporting animals and cargoes, and they were sent to places such as Auschwitz. When the train stopped at Auschwitz, they were told to leave all their belongings on board and were then forced to disembark from the train and gather upon the railway platform known as the ramp. So here we see the people being forced into these train carriages, so packed that they could only stand shoulder to shoulder. Many people would die within the carriages themselves, and they would be in those carriages for days without food or water. If they made it to the camp, people were set hard and punishing work. They were fed very little and they were kept in very poor conditions. They were made to wear uniforms. They were no longer considered to be individuals. They were packed into wooden buildings which were freezing in the winter and hot in the summer. And disease such as typhoid and other viruses spread in these bacteria spread in these conditions. So you can see here the attempts by the Nazi guards, Nazi government, to dehumanize the people within the camps and to work them essentially to death. Here you see a gas chamber. It's disguised as a shower. The gas chamber became the main means of murder. They were built to look like shower rooms. The gas crystals were dropped from above. They used a gas called Zyklon B. Up to 2,000 were crammed into the chambers at Auschwitz and other death camps. Take a moment to consider, why is the gas chamber disguised as a shower? It took up to 20 minutes for everyone within the gas chamber to die. Rows of ovens were built to burn the bodies of those who died. Some of those sent to camps were forced to load body after body into them. Auschwitz could process, murder and burn up to 12,000 bodies a day. The chimneys from the crematoria, where the ovens were, worked around the clock. The sky was full of ash and the bodies burnt. It looked like it was always snowing. Now they use the word process here. Take a moment to consider, what does the word process tell you about how the final solution was carried out? Specially selected Jews, known as the Sonderkommando, were used to remove the gold fillings and hair of people who had been gassed. The Sonderkommando Jews were also forced to feed the dead bodies into the crematorium. Here you see a particularly distressing image of what the Allied soldiers, that is the British and American and Canadian and Australian troops, found at the end of World War II, the Mauthausen camp. Here you have rows of bodies that were left by the Nazis as they fled the camp at the end of the war. And it shows you how dehumanized the prisoners of the camp had become, and the extent to which mass murder had become the function of the Nazi state. We're going to now look at 9 cards which contain information about the concentration camp. I want you to choose 3 cards that you think could be used to tell people about the Nazi concentration camps. Once you've chosen your 3 cards, in your books or on paper, I want you to explain your decision using the sentences below. Take a moment now to pause the video and to write down the sentence starters. Okay, now you've written down the sentence starters, have a look now at the cards. So you can see here we've got 9 different cards. We can see information from a survivor, images of the electric fence at Auschwitz, the experience of a boy who was at the gates, at the concentration camps, the gates of Auschwitz. We can see the piles of shoes that were collected of the victims of Auschwitz. Information about rationing, so the type of food that people were given in the camps. Some information here from Rudolf Hess, who is the senior Nazi who is in charge of the final solution. Some information here about the transportation to the camps, and also an image of a wall where thousands of victims were shot towards the end of the war, as the speed of killing became quicker. what I'd like to do is to choose 3 of these cards and to explain why you have chosen them. What do they tell us? How would they tell other people about the Nazi concentration camps and the final solution? Take a moment to pause, have a look at that, and complete that task. To do this properly, I think this task will take 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, to finish today, I want to consider this question. Why did the German and Polish governments preserve the remains of concentration camps? Tourists are able to visit concentration camps in Germany and Poland. They're very moving places and they are very popular in terms of visits from different tourists. Why do you think that these concentration camps, which are ostensibly very distressing and sad places where terrible things have happened, are preserved so people can go and look at them? What is important about preserving this kind of history? What I'd like you to do is to pause the video and then complete this sentence. I think concentration camps are preserved because. Okay, thank you very much, Year 9. Please do again provide me any feedback on this lesson and submit your homework via Show My Homework or via email.